Welcome, Climate Viewers. This is Jim Lee from ClimateViewer News at ClimateViewer.com, and soon, weathermodificationhistory.com will be back online. Sneak peek at the end of this video. Stick around for that. How ESG ate the airlines. Ooh, that other dirty three-letter word has come for the airlines, and they don't like it. They're fighting back. They're fighting hard. But at the same time, they can't fight too hard because the virtue signaling has to occur. We all know that. So there's going to be a whole lot of that in this video. If you guys haven't already subscribed to my Substack, please do. All of the this article was published at 8 o'clock this morning. This is going to be my regular schedule. Hold me to it. Go to connect.climateviewer.com, which has links to all three of my websites. The third will be up soon, maybe even this weekend. Weathermodificationhistory.com will be back. Oh my God, it's going to be awesome. Yeah, so we're over here. Airlines lobby, don't look up. The climate cult is hot on their trails, but airlines don't want data collection. What's the fuss about? I mean, I thought they wanted transparency, and don't you wear tinfoil hats when you mention chemtrails? Don't say anything about the chemtrails. Don't talk about planes blocking out the sun. What are you doing? I mean, are you crazy? Are you nuts? My daughter's working on my tinfoil hat. Next episode. Anyway, no, you're not crazy. And yes, you should be concerned. And I've said, all the reasons for a very long time. But now we're going to take a little bit of an inside peek into the creepy world of ESG and airlines with contrail avoidance. So it kind of goes like this. Because 9/11, because the airline groundings of 2008 when the Iceland, or in 2009 when the Iceland volcano happened, because they noticed that cirrus clouds created by planes trap heat mostly at night, now all of a sudden the airlines are trying to offset their CO2 emissions in the name of ESG and the climate cult to fatten their wallets or else pay the carbon taxes. And nobody wants to pay carbon taxes, especially the airlines. Of course, they'd love to pass that on to you because it's all about, controlling everything, everywhere, all the time. You know that the WEF and Dar Schwab and, all of these Club of Rome, Alex is wanting to break out of me right now, but it's a little too early for Alex. Alex, come back in. So let's just get into this. So the European Union has passed some legislation that basically says they're going to monitor non-CO2 emissions from airplanes. And basically, non-CO2 emissions is a catch-all phrase for everything coming out of the jet exhaust except CO2. This includes sulfuric acid, nitric oxides, all the other, gases, soot emissions. They barely mention metals. Big surprise there. But most importantly, contrail formation. Contrails turning into persistent contrails, which are cirrus clouds. So contrail-induced cirrus clouds, I'm giving you the scientific terminology they use. Contrail-induced cirrus clouds or aviation-induced cloudiness. So when you come over here to the article, you're going to see how environmental social governance ate the airlines. Shout out to Keith in the Telegram chat. Again, if you haven't joined the Telegram chat, smartest people on the planet hanging out in my Telegram chat right now. I love my Telegram chat. They are freaking epic. Dirk in YouTube right now can't join my Telegram because it's still public and not private. And Dirk, I dearly apologize for that. We're going to figure something out, I promise. But there's got to be a solution. That's all I'm saying. So on that, I warned about this in 2015 at the EPA hearing. Contrails make cirrus clouds a trap heat at ground level, and they're worse than CO2. 9 years later, the push for monitoring non-CO2 emissions and carbon taxing airlines, are they driving the quest for knowledge, or is this really about limiting travel and greed? I think it is. I also warned back in 2013 that, be careful what you wish for. The outrage over chemtrails could lead to two possible scenarios: more expensive / less flights. Only the rich will be able to fly due to exorbitant price of carbon and contrail taxes. This ties directly into the idea of climate lockdowns, even though if you Google climate lockdowns, all you're going to see is a bunch of, hooey about how, this is another conspiracy theory. We need new conspiracy theories because all the old ones came true. Invisible contrails. Yeah, I said it. The clouds are gone, but the solution was far worse than the disease. Does this sound familiar? If you complain about the, planes blocking out the sky, then we could literally get to a point where they could decide to change the chemicals coming out of the planes to where suddenly there are no clouds, but it's worse than it was before. We already are dealing with soot covered in graphene filled with all the metals. And by metal, I don't mean like Tool or Pantera. I mean like aluminum, barium, strontium, vanadium, molybdenum, calcium, iron, nickel, lead. The list goes on. All of this is available at climateviewer.com/cirrus clouds matter. So their solution: biofuels, sustainable aviation fuels, SAF, Frankenstein fuel that makes no clouds but ends up being even more toxic than what we're currently dealing with today. Hydrocarbon based fuels. We don't say fossil around here. So what are non-CO2 emissions? Let's get a definition straight from the horse's mouth. Oh, might want to put that up on the screen. Emissions from burning jet fuel consist mainly of carbon dioxide, then water vapor. True. Nitrogen oxides, sulfur oxides, carbon monoxides, soot, PM 2.5. Now that's particulate matter of a 2.5 micron, but it's really skirting the issue because the majority of the soot particles are as small as 20 nanometers and, get up to where they, chain together. They start to get bigger. Anyway, I'm getting too into this. Unburned hydrocarbons, aerosols. That word's just like hidden in the middle of the sentence. And traces of hydroxyl compounds, most of which are released in the atmosphere at cruise altitudes. The main climate change contributions from non-CO2 emissions of aviation come from the formation of persistent contrails, particularly resulting in aviation-induced clouds. That's why I gave you the terminology up front. This is straight from the International Aviation Transport Administration, the lobbying group for the airline industry. As you can see, non-CO2 emissions is a catch-all phrase for everything coming out of the airplane's tailpipe, not called carbon dioxide. However, the main focus on aviation-induced cloudiness, one might also note there is no mention of graphene or metal nanoparticles as they're generically lumped in the aerosols category. So wouldn't you be surprised to find out that somebody is looking up and the airlines don't like it. European Union's Contrail monitoring program. Eurocontrol new Contrail observatory on the roof of their innovation hub in France is designed to monitor and help analyze the formation and evolution of condensation trails. The data collected, blah, 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 blah. We're so excited to be able to track contrails during both the day and night and boost our research into contrail formation and avoidance. That makes us excited. Because ESG. Anyway, so, of course, the, European Union is like trying to now, regulate non-CO2 emissions. And they want to actually test and verify all of that. But IATA lobbies against it on long-haul flights. Basically, they make the argument that, look, EU, all you can do is regulate planes in the EU. If a plane is flying over the EU and not landing in the EU, or it's leaving the EU and it's going somewhere else, if it leaves Europe and flies to America, don't talk about that. You don't have any right to regulate that. If it's flying from the United Arab Emirates and it lands in the European Union, don't talk about that. You can't regulate that. And they're basically saying, well, it'll be costly. Well, it could lead to, other problems. You guys might actually make false assumptions about our climate change impact. So we the airlines want you to only test and, put monitoring equipment on planes that are flying from the EU and landing in the EU. So that's where the fight's at right now. Just summarizing. Lobby group, the International Air Transport Association, has been seeking an exemption for long-haul flights, while low-cost European carriers Ryanair, EasyJet, and Wizz say all flights, including long-haul international trips, should be included. The blanket exclusion for the extra EEA routes would give misleading impression that these routes create no non-CO2 warming effects, misdirecting all non-CO2 mitigation measures, the airline said in a joint statement distributed. Any intention of expanding the scope of extra EU international flights would raise legal concerns. Ooh, them's fighting words. Basically, the airlines are like, we'll sue you. I mean, would raise legal concerns. Dude, say it with your chest. I mean, I respect you more if you said it with your chest and just came out and said, look, we will sue you. Like, we will straight up sue you if you try to do this to us. Anyway, so I came across this pretty crazy PowerPoint or presentation, Contrail Management Now, by Dieter Schultz. I think I'm pronouncing that right. You guys can correct me. Anybody speak German around here? Dieter Schultz, Contrail Management. I'm going to bring that up in just a second because I want to spend most of the time just kind of going through this guy's slides. Dude put a lot of work to it. Pretty crazy little paper he's got here. And what we're going to do is we're just going to download that bad boy real quick. Oh, yeah, I already got it. So let's just do that and open it up. And you know what? I want to actually open that up in a different thing. So we'll go into that in just 1 second. I'm going to open it up. But right here, he's got a slide kind of, just throwing it all together. More data needed to understand contrails and their climate effect and develop mitigation. EU plans exemption for long-haul flights from emissions monitoring. Airlines lobby against EU plan to monitor non-CO2 emissions. EU suffers backlash over plan to monitor aircraft contrails. Sounds like somebody doesn't want you to look up. Sounds like somebody does not want the truth to come out. Unfortunately for them, the truth almost always comes out. In fact, the guy who wrote this paper that we're about to look at, I got a video of it. It's all in German, of course, and you have to watch the subtitles. But it's on the article right here. Aviation, avoid warming contrails now. Now, for those who've been following me for any length of time, you know that I've already covered this previously in the very first Substack article I wrote, Geoengineering with Contrails, and Contrail Geoengineering, the Chemtrail Conspiracy, real deal, about how Bill Gates and his breakthrough technologies started contrails.org. And oh, wait, let's go right up here to the very top. What is this? Environmental social governance. You come right over here, American Airlines, at news.aa.com/ESG/climate change/contrail avoidance. Yup. Thank you, Keith and chat, for pointing that out. Do you know how dumb I felt whenever I saw that link and I didn't in any way, shape, or form go, this is all because ESG. Like, it should have been a duh. But then looking at the URL and then seeing it there, I'm like, well, of course it's ESG. Like, of course it is. Like, why wouldn't I? Anyway, the things that you realize after the fact when you're just nose deep in the details and you don't take a step back. That's why I rely on, you climate viewers. That's why I rely so heavily on the very enlightened individuals in my Telegram chat. Shout out to Ed and Steve for just constantly dropping stuff, and for Stella for literally making fun of everything all the time. Oh, Lord. But if you look over here, contrail avoidance, this is what my article was about Google and Breakthrough Energy, the Bill Gates company, which is chief scientist is Ken Caldera, the geoengineer. And it's right here on all of their, why we're participating in the Contrail Impact Task Force. Ooh, what's that? Oh, it's a task force. It always sounds greater when you add task force to the end of it. Contrail mitigation, a collaborative approach in the face of uncertainty. Uncertainty. Now, why would they say uncertainty? Because when I gave my speech at the EPA, what I said was this, and I'm going to blow it up really big so everybody can see it. 2013, aerosol cloud interactions are one of the main uncertainties in climate research. Now, I said this in 2013 because it points out the gaping holes in climate science. It points out the gaping holes in climate change models, that they don't affect little particles affect cloud creation and how clouds affect the radiation budget of the planet. In fact, it's so bad that they literally have launched this thing called Earth Care. And Earth Care is this new science, this new satellite, the Earth Cloud Aerosol Radiation Explorer. And if you look this guy up, it's right here. Because they don't know. They really don't know. And that's why they launched Earth Care, the satellite, the mission. What does it say here? Equipped with 4 instruments, the Earth Cloud Aerosol Radiation Explorer satellite mission has been designed to make a range of different measurements that together will shed new light on the role of clouds and aerosols play in regulating Earth's climate. It was launched May of this year from where I was born, Vandenberg Air Force Base, California. So it's not surprising to me at all. It is coincidental that I didn't even know that till literally like just now that was launched. I was born on Vandenberg Air Force Base. My father was a nuclear missile launch technician. That's where I was born. And by the time I was 2 years old, we were living in a trailer park in South Carolina. It's a long story. Not going to tell you about it. None of your beeswax. But the point is, this goes exactly with what I said in 2015, that they still to this day do not understand this. And to make matters worse, you know, they're doing everything they can to try to like figure this out. So another little nugget that just got dropped in chat is this IAGOS and Corsia, which stands for Civil Aircraft for the Regular Investigation of Atmosphere, based on an instrument container. And in it, you will see that they have IAGOS. Don't go slow on me. My internet's fast. The In-Service Aircraft for Global Observing System. So they don't know. I mean, when they say they don't know, I believe them, because I know that these fools don't know they know very little about the atmosphere. This is patent fact. Nobody can argue this. And you can literally go to this map and currently see where their little chemtrail sniffing planes are and what their call signs are. Just keep an eye out for that the next time you're on a flight tracker. You can go to iagos.org and see where their chemtrail sniffing planes are. Interesting, right? So they're trying to figure this out. They're trying to figure this out as fast as they can. And all the while, they're already doing, all of these people are in the ESG puddle trying to figure out, when do contrails turn into cirrus clouds? What are the chemicals behind it? How much does that affect the radiation balance of the planet? Are they causing global warming or not? American Airlines in partnership with Google and Breakthrough Energy. Bill Gates, Google. I mean, do I need to say anything else? Air France in partnership with Mateo France. Delta Airlines in partnership with MIT. Etihad Airways in partnership with Satavia. KLM Airlines in partnership with Satavia. Lufthansa Airlines, DHL Condor, TUI in partnership with DLR and DWD. That's in Germany. Basically, and this comes from the International Aviation Aircraft Transport Association, Aviation Contrails, and their climate effect. So you go over there, here they got a big old, aviation contrails in there, tackling uncertainties and enabling solutions, because they're still uncertain about all of this. I'm going to tell you what I am certain about. When I'm looking at NCAR, the World Meteorological Organization, the University of Leeds, the Royal Aeronautical Society, I'm seeing a whole lot of names that I've already covered in previous videos that are talking about using contrails to create cooling contrails during the day and no warming contrails at night. This is a form of geoengineering. And in order to do this, they've got two ways to do it: contrail avoidance and cirrus cloud thinning, CCT. CCT does not get the play that it should. People should understand what's really going on behind the curtain. And when you actually look at CCT and the plans that have been in place for quite some time, you start to see a clear picture. Let me bring up this. Here we go. Bring that up and let's go. Window. I want this full screen view. Full screen. Full screen mode. There we go. All right, so let's go through this guy's slides. I'm just gonna go through them because, hey, this is an educational show. So I'm looking at this guy's slides, and I'm not going to read everything here because Lord knows this would be an hour. But I want to flip through a couple things real quick because he does sum up a lot of the points. So Flying is booming with CO2 emissions. It's not easy to decarbonize aviation, whether electric drives, e-fuels, or green hydrogen. More on that later. So far, there is no convincing climate-friendly option for propulsion in aircraft transport. And now, in addition to drastic flight restrictions, sounds like climate lockdown. Sounds like restriction of people's ability to move freely. Hey, comes with the territory, I guess. There's another way forward. Flights just need to be rerouted to fly a little higher or lower. Why? Large passenger and cargo jets are flying at an altitude of around 11,000 meters. In these regions, water vapor condenses with soot from the engine air exhaust into ice crystals, forming contrails behind the aircraft. They can remain visible for hours when humidity is high, especially at dawn, dusk, and at night. Contrails are warming because they act like panes of glass in a greenhouse. Now, you've heard me make this, comparison so many times. And I'm not a climate scientist. I could be wrong, but I've been right so many dang times. It's just crazy how many times things I've been saying for years end up in PowerPoint presentations and peer-reviewed journals. I say there are no greenhouse gases. There's only the greenhouse. And what is the greenhouse? It's whenever you create a metal cloud overhead. And by metal cloud, I mean that when they flew through the cirrus clouds left by planes, they found that the cloud condensation nuclei in them were 75% man-made metals. In fact, I even said that at the EPA hearing. Would I close it? Yeah, it's still there. But anyway, I guess I'll show it. The big one we found was lead. Comes from things like tetryl ethyl lead and fuels still used in some light aviation. This is an avgas and propeller, it's not in jet engines. Let's just put it that way. So that's probably the biggest metal we find, or most frequent metal we find, but we find a whole host of different metals actually. Sources 14 and 15. You can go to the bottom of the page and actually see where I got that information from right there. Science Magazine podcast, and clarifying the dominant sources and mechanisms of cirrus cloud formation. Now you got to remember, I went to Washington, D.C., and I put my you-know-what on the table, and I had to say, look, I've done my homework, and I'm telling you, you guys don't know anything about cloud formation. You're up here trying to regulate greenhouse gases, CO2 coming out of planes. They're not the problem. CO2 never killed anybody under the Clean Air Act. But metals and poisonous, graphene-coated soot particles and sulfur kills a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people. That's just undeniable. 1 in 10 deaths worldwide are caused by sulfur pollution. Look it up. So when you look into the studies that have been done, you can say with pretty much certainty that the clouds that these planes are creating are metal clouds. I mean, they're water. There's a lot of water in there, don't get me wrong. But what's in the middle of them? It's the metal. And again, we're not talking about Pantera. We're talking about those metals internally mixed with soot particles, chromium, iron, molybdenum, sodium, calcium, aluminum, Oh my God, this Jim Lee, don't you realize this is part of a global depopulation agenda? I mean, it's so clear whenever they're talking their ESG nonsense and they're pumping out these chemicals day after day, 40 million freaking flights per year, and they're just dumping their
poison on us every single day. Meanwhile, calling us conspiracy theorists. Who do these people think they are? I don't understand it. Chromium, iron, molybdenum, sodium, calcium, aluminum, vanadium, barium, cobalt, copper, nickel, lead, magnesium, manganese, silicon, titanium, and zirconium. These are demonic people. These are people possessed by demons out to destroy the entire world. And I don't care who this Manuel person is who wrote this paper, but he's just exposing the satanic cult that is the airline industry for what they really are. They're out there to kill everybody on the planet, and we all know it.
What would Alex Jones say? Going to be a regular part of the show in the future. Plays Raining Blood by Slayer. Good one, Nikki. Like, nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. Oh Lord. They're gonna ban leaded aviation fuel and avgas. It's called an anti-knock additive. And anyway, don't get me I digress. I apologize. Let's get back to the story. God, you guys could pull me off in just a second. I swear to God. So back to this thing. Let's try to just make it through this pretty quickly. Control L, it says. All right, so what's it got here? That, you know, that they're soot emissions, and the soot has all those metals I just meant, and these are impurities in the jet fuel. Little side note: a very cocky Peter Kirby called me the other weekend after going on James Corbett, and basically, after telling me he knows absolutely nothing about atmospheric science, claimed that everything I was saying was absolute BS. So, agreed to disagree, but you cannot argue with the science. Like, the science is sound on this. Cloud condensation nuclei, poisonous, it's all there. That's why we're winning. That's why the ideas that I'm putting out there are winning. Take it or leave it, bruh. Because if you've been doing this long enough and you actually start to look into it, you realize more and more that the real chemtrail conspiracy is to keep you distracted from the fact that they are poisoning the planet. They are blocking the sun. They are trying to turn this into a geoengineering solution. They're saying it in public now. I've been saying it for over a decade. Now, even Bill Gates has made an entire website devoted just to telling you that's exactly what we want to do with this contrail avoidance ESG crap. We want to make cooling clouds during the day and, get rid of the warming contrails because geoengineering, because ESG, because global warming, because climate change. Them's the breaks. Faber over in live chat, he's like, crossing my fingers for some dank Alex Jones impersonations tonight. I hope that met your standard. Glad to deliver, sir. Or maybe ma'am. You never know. Can't assume whenever, it's just an avatar on the screen. Anyway, they can remain visible for many hours when humidity is high, especially, I read all that. CO2 from aircraft fuel accounts for only 1/3 of the warming effect measured from the equivalent CO2. In contrast, contrails can cause more than half of the equivalent CO2. Experts in various fields of aviation explain unanimously that contrail management could start now. Contrail control. How's it done? Who knows what? Who is prepared? And who is against it? I think we pointed out who's against it right now. with the IATA going, hey, how about you don't put any, chemtrail sniffing equipment on our planes because we don't want that. Anyway, so this is where I got the link to that video. You can see it in the thing. Climate goals of the EU, drastic reduction in flight. Drastic reduction in flight. The EU's Green Deal in 2050 net greenhouse gas emissions should no longer be released. But then they have this sub-goal called Fit for 55. Greenhouse gas emissions are to be reduced by 55% compared to 1990. And this target is European climate targets for 2030. Agenda 2030. Fit for 55. Fit for 55. Climate-friendly aviation. I mean, they got all these terms for these things. You know what I'm saying? Like, optimization of flight routes. Now, this was actually proposed by Ulrich Schumann back in 2010. Better support for consumers choosing more climate-friendly alternatives, with more transparency through climate labels, comparison of aircraft, comparison of airlines, comparison of flight routes, a book and claim concept certificates for the use of sustainable aviation fuel, biofuels, all of these things. We're greenwashing the jet fuel. We're using biofuels now. That means that we're not using fossil fuels. We're using 50% biofuels. It's called a drop-in fuel. We're doing all that because climate change, because ESG, because BlackRock and Vanguard. Don't you know? Don't you know? Oh, this just in. Larry Fink says that he's not going to use the term ESG anymore. Oh, wonder why. Maybe because people don't really like that idea. Just go look it up. He said it. I'm not going to say ESG anymore. But then American Airlines literally still has it right in the title. And we've already showed this. So MRV, why is monitoring of contrails from planes causing controversy? I mean, why would it be? You would think that they wouldn't have a problem with it because it's just contrails. We're not talking about chemtrails here. It's not like anybody's going, hey, let's look at the chemtrails you're making. We just want to see the contrails you're making. I thought that was a safe space. I mean, did I miss something here? Because I thought for sure that contrails was an acceptable term and that chemtrails was not. Did I not include? I sure as hell did not include that in. I thought for sure that I included that in here. Well, just going to have to bring it up because this is too funny not to bring up. So, little diversion. Give me 1 second. Got to go find something. I went on Reddit and finding it impossible to watch your show because tab has crashed. Jeff, no, Jeff. They're shutting the man down. They're shutting him down. Going back up here, let me see if I can find it. Oh, good Lord, I've gone way too far. Oh, what am I looking at? Am I looking at just pin stuff? You know what? I'm just going to bring this over here. We'll scroll together. So I don't bore the absolute piss out of everybody right now. Let me look. We're not going to talk about that. I'm not understanding. I must be looking at pinned messages right now for some reason. Because there's no way. All right, we were talking about those things. You know what? Let me do this. Reddit. Found it. This happened. You can't make it up. I thought I got rid of all my alert boxes that go ding-a-ling-a-ling. You can't make this stuff up. So I went and I posted this PowerPoint, this presentation that we're looking at right now in r/climate change because, hey, it's ESG, it's climate change, it's contrails, and you cannot make this up. Take a look for yourself. Hello, Jim Lee. You have been banned from participating in r/climate change for 366 days because you broke this community's rules. You won't be able to post or comment, but you can still view and subscribe to it. Note from the moderators, r/conspiracy nonsense. Bruh, are you freaking kidding me? I couldn't even believe it when I got the message, because I'm like, I literally posted this. Okay? This is what I posted. I posted this. Contrail management now. From this dude with all of this. They didn't look at any of this. All they saw was this screenshot. I put this screenshot up and a link in MLA format to it. And they got so triggered that they banned me for a freaking year. Bruh. Like, seriously. r/conspiracy nonsense. And I put contrails.org. How is contrail avoidance not climate change related? Contrail, not chemtrail. You can't read the bottom. Why can't you read the bottom? I mean, what's that all about? You snowflake moron. It's just a day in my life, of trolling the internet. I go into there and I'm like, Reddit climate change Nazi admins banned me for posting about airlines opposing contrail monitoring network. Apparently to them, contrails are a conspiracy theory. So let me get this straight. To the chemtards, the chemtrail, the Dane Wigington crowd, contrails are a conspiracy. I mean, contrails are a conspiracy. You go to the global warming hub of Reddit, and to them, contrails are a conspiracy theory. I'm sure chemtrails are too, but what? Like, what kind of world are we living in where now nobody can even talk about contrails? You can't talk about it to anybody who believes in chemtrails, because they go, contrails are short little lines, and chemtrails, they don't go away. And then you talk to the climate change, idiots, and they go, contrail control, contrail avoidance, contrail management, that's conspiracy nonsense. You cannot make this up. You can't make this up. If you don't know, Reddit is full of leftist snowflakes. You cannot post anything there without them going cringe on you. Seriously cringe. But again, if you guys want to join, you can come over here to the ClimateViewer Telegram chat, and it is just a blast. Lots and lots. We got a whole section on research papers, videos that are constantly getting updated, and latest news stuff. But then in the general chat, it's wide open all day, every day. It's going to be pretty freaking epic. So, join the chat. We're already 12,000 messages deep, and the people in there are freaking wonderful. And when you do, come in and be sure to harass Stella, and she will literally hand you your anus. Let's just put it that way. All right, so back to this thing here. Where were we at? Coming back over here. So why is monitoring contrails from planes causing controversy? You should read all about it. I'm not going to read it to you. So contrail basics. These are the basics, these things turn into those things. Just by the way, I want to just say for a personal note, this is possibly the ugliest cover photo I ever created for a video. I put that thing together and I was just like, I don't even care. I got the article done on time. It's going to publish in the morning. I got the video scheduled for 9 p.m. on Friday. I'm going to do this every week. I want to have the article out, on Thursday. So, Thursday, I'm going to write the article, have it published at 8 o'clock in the morning on Friday. If you're signed up for my Substack, you will get the article in your mailbox, and it will already have a link to Rumble and YouTube, where you can watch the video. You don't need to worry about not getting your alerts that I'm going to go live. They'll already be there. That's the plan. Gonna try to stick to it. Hold me to it, guys. But yeah, this was already in there. But yeah, I mean, that is a butt ugly cover photo. Like, I really should have put more effort into it. It just kind of, at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? It looked great. And then I put this, I wanted to put that photo in there, overlay the whole thing. And I was like, it kind of works. It gets the point across. It looks so much cleaner without this photo in here. And you could actually read what was being said here. But regardless, all that stuff's on here. Anyway, contrail life cycle and how they spread out and all that stuff, and cooling persistent contrails during the daytime, warming persistent contrails dawn or dusk. Warming persistent contrails at night. Yeah. Ice crystal growth. This is see the difference? That versus that. Oh my God. That's terrible. That's sloppy. My God. So, Nikki, I'm going to stick to it. That's going to be my schedule. I will be, I hope to have this new show worked out, and it's going to have a whole bunch of different parts to it. And it's going to be even better than the way we're doing it now. But regardless, 9 p.m. Eastern Friday night, that's when I plan on doing the videos. That way I have my weekend to work, because I have other work to do. I work 40 hours a week during the week, and then I have more work to do on the weekend. We got to do it all. So anyway, this is where I got that slide from. And it basically, it shows you jet engines emit water vapor, CO2, and other pollutants such as soot particles. This has been my number one argument against the debunkers forever. They just say it's just water vapor. And I'm like, no, it's water vapor. They say it's condensation trails. And I said, condensing on what? And this is straight from contrails.org/science. This is Bill Gates' website admitting what I've been saying for 10, 15 years. Water droplets condense around some of these pollutants, the soot particles. Droplets freeze into ice particles and make up contrail clouds. And you can see right here the jet regime and the vortex regime. Up to 0.1 seconds afterwards, 1 second, 1 to 10 seconds, 10 to 100 seconds. Basically, they start out as very small particles, and then they start to gather together. They get bigger, and more ice attaches to those particles. That is cloud seeding. That is how cloud works. That's how all clouds have ever worked, and this is basic science. Like, basic-ass science. And coming from cloud seeding to chemtrails, I knew all this beforehand. So, this is a no-brainer for me. Downwash, he goes into a whole bunch of stuff that you guys are probably not interested in, but these are wake vortexes where you see right here, and how the downwash occurs, how it actually radially comes off the wingtips and downward. Anyway, sedimentation, how, the particles break up. Contrails predominantly consist of bullet rosettes, columns, and plates with sizing ranging from 1 nanometer to about 100 nanometers. Now, I've showed actual photos of these in the last video I did, I believe. Real up close photos of them. I could pull those out real quick if you guys want to see it. Let me know in chat. Anyway, vapor pressure, exhaust gas mixing, and ambient air. Appelman-Schmidt criterion. So, this is one of the things that gets talked about a lot in our Telegram chat, is being able to read radiosonde data and know when there are ice supersaturated regions in the sky, should there be planes making clouds or not. And people constantly come into the chat and they're like, check out my video. And then, basically they're like, all right, where did you shoot the video? What time? And then through a series of questions and answers, we literally get back to the point where we track down the flight that they were looking at in their videos or their pics. And Nikki wants to see the pics. That, we go back and we, forensically figure out what caused the clouds that they're currently looking at. Control L. Going back to this, going back to this, going to there. And I believe it was in the very last article that I wrote, which was how chemtrails are ruining activism, which is now the #1 article. It's the most popular article on my Substack. Amazingly. I guess it's just because, I called out all the BS like simultaneously and how people are addicted to fear. But if you scroll down here past who's paying for the geoengineering and all that stuff and all the history, it should be right about there. And this is what soot looks like. So if you take a good close-up, go gander at that, what you see is this is 40 nanometers, and this is a bunch of soot particles that have turned into what's called a ceniform. So this is soot in a ceniform or a grape-like structure. This has a massive surface area for water to condense on and freeze. So this square is blown up here. This is a single soot particle, black carbon. And what is on the surface of the black carbon? You go over here and they zoom in even further. Right here, they're looking at just this part. Now we're looking at 5 nanometers, okay? This is one soot particle, 5 nanometers. Right here on the edge, 2 nanometers, looking at the edge. Soot particles surrounded by relatively well-ordered, deformed graphene lamellae, meaning they have a thin coating of graphene. So this particle, which is 40 nanometers, is made up of a bunch of 5 nanometers. We're talking about nanoparticles here. 5 nanometer soot particles, which are coated in graphene. Tail of the tape. This is the graphene right here, blown up real big, and the arrow is pointing at where they blew it up. Good enough, Nikki? You asked for it, you got it. Electron microscope study of soot particulate matter emissions from aircraft turbine engines, 2014. So yeah, it's there. Like, it's all there. And I'll drop that link in chat for you guys. How about that? There's a freebie for everybody. Enjoy. If you didn't catch that, that's the last video. That's the last article. But yeah, it's a thing. It's a thing. So back to this thing. Let's go back through this really rapidly. Heating values. There's a whole bunch of science stuff in here, and I'm not going to bore you guys with it. For me, this is what floats my boat. So, I'm going through all this stuff. Tangent mixing line of the Schmidt-Appelman criterion. Basically, Schmidt-Appelman is just a way of, you know what? I should probably show that. Let's do that. I'll bring this up, and I'll just pull it out of the way for a second. And here, you can look at my semi-beautiful face while I pull this up. But you have to look at what this actually looks like. So let me go to... I'm going to go to windy.com. We're going to go to more layers. And we're going to scroll down to the bottom. We're going to go to radiosonde data. And it looks like this. So we're going to come over here. And here we go. So if you actually go to windy.com and you go all the way to the bottom, you click on more layers right here. And you scroll all the way to the bottom, you're going to see radiosondes. And when you do, you can actually... is that? Oh, what? You hear it? Oh, those are lightning strikes. I'm like tripping. Now I just noticed that the sounds are coinciding with lightning strikes. I thought I was tripping. I'll mute it. Anyway, so you come in here and you can actually see the radiosonde data. So if we go and we look for an area that's got a whole bunch of them there contrails, you can actually go and compare that with the radiosonde data itself. And what it'll do is it'll show you at altitude, and it's got the numbers right up here on the side. This is how you determine where a ice supersaturated region is. And the point where you see these temperatures start to come very close together. So this is the dew point depression is the blue line. The red line is the temperature. And then where they diverge is called an inversion. The divergence happens right there, but mainly right there. So at this location, the tropopause, or where the ionosphere or stratosphere starts, is right at about 43,000 feet. That's pretty high. But if you start to look around at other ones, you'll see totally different, schematics, let's put it that way, for what these things look like. If you come up here to Canada, it's pretty abrupt. And you can see that clearly, like, most of this region, this is actually not very good for contrail formation, honestly. They're off by quite a bit. But the inversion, however, quickly split. So you can see where the top of the stratosphere is, and you can also change it to the skew T plot. And you can compare this directly to the Appelman-Schmidt criterion. I know this is very sciencey for a lot of people. If you'd like to learn more about this, ask Jeff. Jeff M in our Telegram chat. Jeff is our resident meteorologist. He is the chief of meteorologism in the ClimateViewer chat on Telegram. So if you'd like to meet him and you'd like to talk to him, come in there and at Jeff Ray and say, hey, should these be chemtrails or not? And he'll be able to bring up the radio sign. And Liz is getting pretty good at it too. And if you'd like to learn more about this, Stella Q is in the YouTube chat right now. Everybody can say hi to Stella Q. Go and subscribe to Stella Q's channel, because Stella is doing a series called Whether or Not, starring the one and only beautiful queen of comedy herself, Stella Q, and Jeff, our meteorological forensics expert, and he'll break it down for you. You can learn more about what's a normal cloud. I mean, I learned a bunch of things on episode 3, just like that I had not even heard, So you guys, learning is fun. Make it fun. The more you learn about this, the easier it is to explain to people, the less scared you're gonna be. So there. I mean, don't you want to not be scared? I would rather not be scared of this crap than be on that Alex Jones tip, with all these fear porn pushers out there. I'm just not having it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not having it. So anyway, that's what the Appelman-Schmidt criterion is. And they showed it right here. Short contrails or persistent contrails, when they should happen, at what altitude, and does it match up with the temperature versus the dew point depression, water vapor, partial pressure here. There's different forms of this, but you can basically look at the radiosondes. Ionosondes are different. They're for HARP and sounding rockets, which we may get into. I'm going to give you a sneak peek of weathermodificationhistory.com at the end of this, and you'll actually get to see that, because I've finally added it. So there's a whole lot on the Schmidt-Appelman charts and how they work, because this has literally been around since World War II. If you don't know that the Schmidt-Appelman criterion has been around since World War II, and that you can accurately predict, this answers your question. I mean, I know that there's somebody out there who's watching this that goes, why are there spray days? And why are there days where there's no spray whatsoever? And the answer is right there in your face. Schmidt-Appelman criterion. And when you learn how to actually read that damn website is in the background, and all I'm hearing is lightning bolts popping off every 5 seconds. I have got to close that right now. It is driving me bonkers. Oh, my heart. But this has been around since World War II. It's accurate, and it can tell you all about whether or not there should be persistent contrails. You can predict it. Jeff predicts it on a daily basis, and he's right all the time. So it just, I guess you could say, if you asked Alex Jones, he would say,
there's no such thing as Appelman Schmidt. It's just about, they're just pre-programming the populace to know that, oh yeah, it's just water vapor in the sky. But in reality, this is their military spec ops plans from the CIA, and they're just letting you know where they're going to spray today. Duh.
Oh my God. That's hard on a voice. I don't know how he does it. I can remember back when I was in high school and I sang in a band and I sang Pantera. And, it takes a lot to growl that out for an hour or two straight. And if not done properly, you can hurt your vocal folds, which is why one of my favorite channels on YouTube is called The Charismatic Voice. Elizabeth, if by any chance possible you happen to see this video, chance is 0 to none. I love you, Elizabeth, and I love The Charismatic Voice on YouTube. Go watch her react to music and teach you more about how your vocal folds work. It's pretty amazing. Anyway, so observation and prediction. So this is now getting down to, hey, can we actually predict it based on Schmidt-Appelman and then, observing contrails? So that's exactly what they're doing. They're showing this in real time. In fact, he's showing right now in this windy.com, like I just did, with, showing the flights, at altitude. This is contrails.org. Maybe we'll take a sneak peek at that too, because on there they show all flights, and then they color code them by whether or not they are they warming or are they cooling contrails, because that's really what this is all about. It's about getting that ESG on, and it's right here, contrails.org. This is the Bill Gates funded website on making the warming contrails go away because they trap heat at the ground, but making cooling contrails and being able to tell the difference because, because ESG, because global warming. So you can go right here to explore the contrail map, start exploring, and don't try this while you're live streaming at home, unless you got a good computer and a fast internet. You can see the loading bar right here. My computer's eating this for lunch right now, but it actually shows the flights, and then it'll show in orange warming contrails, in blue cooling contrails. So this is about all of this stuff about the contrail monitoring and about, tracking the flights and contrail observation networks is about geoengineering the planet using contrails, because these red ones are bad. They're melting the poles, don't you know? So at the end of the day, that's what's going on. They want to be able to say, hey, look, these are blue. That's geoengineering. That's what we want to do. We want to do solar radiation management. We want to block the sun. We want more clouds by day, none by night. But once we get, to the point where the sun is starting to, set, maybe it's not such a good idea, because those cooling contrails, even though, oh no, now they're all warming. See that? See that magic? See that magic right there? And then boom. Oh, it's nighttime. They're all warming. They're bad. Oh, look, there's still little blue streaks in there. So anyway, they have a whole nother section that literally just shows you potential contrail regions. aka ice supersaturated regions. If you turn this on, it'll actually show you where the ISSRs are in the sky, and that's why the contrails are forming. Now this one's a much bigger file, but once you turn this on, it brings up another category called potential contrail regions. These are ice supersaturated regions. These are what you find when you go looking at radiosonde data and trying to figure out, bro, friggin' chat, man. Is this Mike Morales? No, bye. God. Oh, the internet is full of assholes. And I would not suggest anybody try this if you're not just okay with assholes. And there's an asshole. Mike was my friend. And don't let the door hit you where the good Lord split you. Anyway, because, you know, I'm not talking about chemtrails here. We're talking about contrails, and that's just blasphemy for so many people. I don't care. I don't care. I'm following the money, baby. And that's how you get to the truth. Follow the money, right? So anyway, back to this thing. So that's what he's showing here. The flight tracker map from contrails.org. And then contrail avoidance. This is from their website also. Radiative forcing, predicting regions and their energy forcing. Contrail management. Oh, all we need to do is reroute 5% of the flight to avoid 80% of the warming. This is all from Bill Gates contrails.org. Is that surprising? Map.contrails.org. And, you know, like I said, it's Bill Gates, founder of Breakthrough Energy. He's behind it. And other things like forecasts.contrails.org. You have to actually sign up for this API. We're actually trying to integrate this into ClimateViewer 3D, which would be freaking amazing. You know, we're trying to, in an ideal world, we're going to incorporate flight tracking with radiosonde data with all, you know, obviously if we can get that EarthCare satellite data, that'd be pretty epic. But any instrument that we can use to determine where ISSRs are on a daily basis, and then literally you'll be able to take a photo or a video, post it, flag the flight that you saw in your video, and then collect the data for your atmosphere in that area. All right, you just heard yourself a ban. Bye-bye. Troll on, trolltard. So anyway, back to the thing. Not even gonna dignify your comment with a show on the screen. Moron. Yeah. Concept Objects accurately points out that most troll accounts that come on and say these things, they have no videos, they have no history other than just commenting on the things. And, you know, you catch the most flack when you're over the target, right? And here we're talking about just facts. I mean, we're just looking at the facts. Flight planning with windy.com, contrails.org's plan on, you know, how to do contrail avoidance. There's an interesting one coming up, though. Tactical versus strategic contrail avoidance. Adjust flight trajectory en route to avoid contrails as they're observed based on Contrail Nowcast. Issued real-time guidance for strict avoidance maneuvers within fuel burn limits, because they don't want to burn more fuel than is necessary, because then they're making more CO2. And that affects the bottom dollar of the CEOs at the airlines, and they're not going to, you know, go for that. I talked to a pilot directly about this exact thing, and they have a monetary incentive to not burn as much fuel, fly higher, which, dirty little secret in the industry, is that the airline CEOs want the planes to fly higher because they burn less gas. But this does two things. The higher they fly, the more likely they are to be in an ISSR, which means they're more likely to make contrails that persist and linger for hours. The other thing is they may actually end up flying into the stratosphere, because depending on where you are at any given time, you could be flying above the tropopause. You could be flying in the stratosphere. All of your chemicals coming out of the plane will be going into the stratosphere. That's called stratospheric aerosol injection. That's why the sky is getting milky white. But more importantly, for the pilots, even though they're financially incentivized to fly higher, the higher you fly, the more radiation the pilots and passengers receive. And nobody really wants to talk about that, about the cancer rates in pilots, stewards, stewardesses, steward men, I don't know what they call them now. I've never been politically correct, but regardless, the staff on the plane and the people flying in the plane are exposed to atmospheric radiation the higher they go. As long as they're above 36,000 feet, when you get to 40,000 feet, you've quadrupled, if not 10 times the amount of radiation at 36,000 feet. This is directly from a pilot I'm in contact with. I hope to have her on the program in the near future. So these are the strategies, okay? But people are already writing programs to like do all of this automatically. And you can see like this, share contrail risk areas with pilots. This is called pace.textgroup.com, but it has no contrail management in it. It just gives like a heads up. Hey, here's what your atmospheric conditions are going to be like along your flight path. Now, Satavia, which I mentioned earlier, they have their own little program, and I'm trying to remember. It's in my last article, what their program's name is. Let me check real quick, because I know I have that. Let me see. No, it's not in there. Interesting. And go to in my big old research thing. No, not there. Yeah, this. Is that it? Satavia multi-year commercial agreement to deliver contrail management and future carbon credits, and their program is called, damn it, it's the other link. All right, well, this is the way things go whenever you're doing it live. My research folder, back to carbon taxes, and it's this one. Go, fool. Satavia and ACX partner on first ever carbon taxes to monetize aviation's non-CO2 impacts. And where is it at? Oh yeah, it's called Decision X Net Zero Platform. Okay, so Decision X Net Zero is Satavia's program. I don't think he mentions that in here. I'm gonna kick myself if it's on like the next. It's literally on the next slide. It's literally on the next slide. Preparation is key. Anyway, so yeah, had that bookmarked. Did not, completely read this entire thing. Wanted to react, kind of in real time. But then there's this thing called flight keys. Now, these guys are literally making software a 5D system for, actually predicting and doing it in real time. So on flight keys, they've now integrated everything together, and it'll say, look, Warning related to contrails detected in real time. Flight keys, flight planning, 5D system with new features for contrail avoidance. This is already being implemented because capitalism. When you combine ESG with capitalism, if there's a demand, somebody's going to, go out there and make that product. And apparently Flight Keys is already on it. They're like, do you guys want to do contrail avoidance to appease the climate gods and, the ESG lords from Vanguard and BlackRock and, all the other, agencies and multinational organizations that are behind this? Well, we'll make that thing for you. And it's called flightkeys.com. Go check it out. I was all up in this software earlier, just, looking at it. And I mean, that's why I say, if you want to read this, and actually dig into it, it's pretty freaking impressive what he's come up with here. I mean, I had never heard of this before, actually, looking through this slide. And so kudos to Dieter. Pretty good stuff. And it shows, how this flight is, compared to the optimum flight plan. The contrail avoidance flight plan requires 60 kilograms more fuel. On average, contrail avoidance requires 0.11% more fuel calculated by Flight Keys. So yeah, it costs a little bit more fuel to fly around the ice supersaturated regions, and then they won't make contrails that turn into cirrus cloud. This can be done. Will they do it? And back to, the very first article I wrote on Substack, will they decide if it's going to be cooling contrails? Will they use this information to intentionally fly into those areas? And, now he goes into a whole bunch of CO2 data. We're going to skip this whole section because, if you're into the carbon budget and the CO2 thing, hey, dig in. Dubai flooding, I guess this has to do with climate change and has nothing to do with, all of the weather modification of the United Arab Emirates Rainfall Enhancement Program, which I've already covered. They claimed it had nothing to do with cloud seeding. Meanwhile, not mentioning that they're using freaking lasers and cloud ionizers also. They're using everything. They're not even using silver iodide in the United Arab Emirates. They're using titanium dioxide. And they're using nanoparticles of graphene oxide and graphene oxide and silicon dioxide nanoparticles. So they're experimenting with everything possible to make it rain in the UAE. Why? Because they got that oil money and they got very little water. So it's no surprise. Providing some relief to the Great Barrier Reef. Just real sustainable aviation means there will be a reef to visit in the future. We just covered this it's coincidental because we were covering this in, a lot. I think Stella was actually the one who posted it about how the Great Barrier Reef is actually growing back exponentially fast. It's fine. It's doing great. So go look it up. Go join our Telegram chat, type in Great Barrier Reef, search for it, and you can go look at the data yourself. The reef's doing great. And this is just fear porn from the climate change cult. Anyway, so this is where we get into what are their solutions? What are their ESG solutions for aviation-based climate change? It's contrail avoidance and zero emission planes. And one of the biggest ones that's being pushed right now is hydrogen powered planes. No hydrogen flight demonstrator launched by Airbus yet. Airbus zero emission aircraft with fuel cell by 2035. It has been 3 years since we revealed an aircraft concept 100% powered by hydrogen cells. Since then, we have adhered to our initial timeline and made tremendous progress. The recent success of powering on the Iron Pod system at 1.2 megawatts is a crucial step forward to our goal of putting a hydrogen-powered aircraft in the skies by 2035. Anybody who's been following this channel for a long time, I've told you, minimum 10 to 15 years before they even can do some experimental, alternative fuel or electric planes, because batteries are heavy and testing is rigorous and. So they're nowhere near close to that. So how does this all affect the climate? I'm just going to skip all these right here, because water vapor is actually the most potent greenhouse gas, whether they they really say it in public, but it is. I mean, this is like a no-brainer. I lived in Arizona. I live in South Carolina. In Arizona, be 110 degrees. One day, I think it was like 119 degrees in the desert. And interestingly enough, I could go stand under a tree and get cool, because there's very few trees. And, as long as I was standing in the shade, there's wind blowing, and it was cool. Why? Very little water vapor, very low relative humidity. Here in South Carolina, if it's hot outside and it's 95 degrees with a heat index of 106, you are damn near dying, and no shade is going to save your butt from that heat. Why? Because the heat is in the humidity. The heat's in the water. The water is what holds the heat. That's why. It's like redneck science 101. Observational science. Arizona versus South Carolina. Relative humidity. So anyway, that's how that works. And it's pretty simple. But down here at the end, SO2, sulfur dioxide, and particles and make contrails. Contrails make clouds. And they talk about long-term influence versus short-term influence. AIC, there's that term again. Like, if you don't know the terms that these scientists talk in, then you'll never ever get to the truth. AIC, aviation-induced cloudiness. That's like one of the major terms. The other one, contrail-induced cirrus. So if you're going to talk to a scientist, or a politician for that matter, if you're talking to somebody and you're talking about making laws, you might want to know these terms, because they won't argue with these terms. In fact, if they go to scholar.google.com, they'll realize that, hey, every scientist on the planet are calling them this, and they're talking all about it. Contrail radiative forcing as a function of fuel flow. Oh, did you know that the thrust of the engine determines the size of the volatile particles in the plume, and how big the plume is and how long the plume lasts? I said this to Peter Kirby on the phone, and he thought I was talking, just absolute bonkers. And I'm like, bro, you don't know anything about any of this stuff. You've never heard of a radiosine. You don't know what an ice supersaturated region is. You never heard of biofuels. I just asked you, and you said you've never heard of anything, but you wrote a freaking book about chemtrails, and you don't know anything about them. That to me is the problem with. That's why I wrote that last article, how chemtrails are ruining activism. There are all these guys out there that are content creators that don't know fundamentals about how this stuff works and why it works. They don't understand the atmosphere. I got one fly that snuck in my room, because the minute I turn these lights on, they're attracted to the light. I almost got him. He's going down before the end of this show. Promise. Anyway, let's rip through the rest of this. See if there's anything else worth looking at. The uncertainty around contrail cirrus is absolutely insane. If you look at this, and they talk about effective radiative forcing, and I think that's milliwatts per meter squared. here's contrail cirrus in high humidity regions. Here's carbon dioxide emissions. So let me get this straight. This bar is already bigger than the CO2 with an uncertainty this wide versus an uncertainty this wide. Clouds more important than greenhouse gases. I've said it for 10 years. You say it in your own freaking papers. It's in the IPCC reports. They've been saying this for years. They don't know, but they do know. They don't know how much, but they certainly know that the temperature of the planet is based on, in this order: solar radiation, galactic cosmic rays, cloud formation, water vapor, and then greenhouse gas emissions, all the way at the bottom. Clouds and water vapor way more important than greenhouse gases. And any climate, scientist worth his salt will go, well, we're not certain about that, but it's in their own charts. I mean, and it's common sense. It's common freaking sense. And that's why they launched a satellite in May of this year to try to figure out what we already know, that clouds control the temperature of the planet. That fly. I'm gonna get him. Anyway, so yeah, aviation-induced cloudiness share depends on integration time. Contrails and cirrus clouds, contrails and cirrus clouds, contrails and cirrus. So for 20 years, more than half of the radiation budget is contrails and cirrus. 50 years, it's 50-50 with nitrous oxide and CO2. But 100 years from now, CO2 will be more important than contrails and cirrus. Now, riddle me this. So if you look at the number of flights per year, and you go 2004, there was 23 million flights per year. 2019, there were 40 million flights per year. Who's the idiot that made this chart? Oh, it says at the bottom under climate optimized route flight routes, Lee Mueller. I don't know how to pronounce that, but bro, you're not using your brain here. Like, when you're predicting the future, you also have to predict for changes in human activity. And when the number of flights per year goes like this, I mean, it's like a vertical chart. It's a logarithmic chart for you science nerds out there. It just keeps going up and up and up straight into the stratosphere. Well, guess what? 100 years from now, there are going to be even more flights. But, changes in technology. Maybe by then, Tesla will have invented a Tesla airplane, which will be all electric, and there will be no contrails and no cirrus clouds created by them. I highly doubt it, because they want to geoengineer. Why would they ever get rid of the clouds? But that's the point of all this. So the charts go on. They go on. New technologies and fuels. Carbon cycle of sustainable aviation fuel. It's just terrible. It's just terrible. Refueling one Airbus A350 once per day with sustainable aviation fuel. 53 of the large windmill power plants, 46 megawatts each, are needed. Bro, every single idea they come up with for a solution is worse than the problem. Not to mention, have you ever seen the dump sites where they put these windmill blades? They can only be used for a certain amount of time, and they can't even recycle them. And they're literally like just making landfills with all these windmill blades. It's that dumb. It's just dumb. They're all dumb. Best case, use renewable energy to replace coal and power plants. But, good luck with that. And this thing goes on for quite a bit. But this is the one that I wanted to land on, and we'll just wrap it up here, and you guys can read the rest of it yourself. This is the one thing that actually makes the most sense. Only 1% of the world's population causes 50% of commercial aviation emissions, while more than 80% of the world's population have never set foot on an airplane. This sounds pretty interesting right here. Stay-grounded.org. So yeah, the Davos crowd, the private jet owners, my wife told me a funny one. There's this guy who uses the open source flight tracking software to just basically troll Taylor Swift like all over the planet. And Taylor Swift was like, he's putting my life in jeopardy. And why is he telling everybody where I'm flying in my private jet? Meanwhile, he's just pointing out the obvious, that all you private jet owners out there, you're the problem. Like, your carbon footprint puts everybody else to shame. When 80% of the world's population has never in their entire life even flown a plane, and only 1% of the world's population actually flies regularly, that's the problem. I mean, honestly, the solution, it should be pretty obvious. The solution is, how about you make some of those high-speed rails, so, I mean, if you're not flying over the ocean, there should be no reason why you're not using maglev technology and going 300 miles an hour in a bullet train and it's safe and effective. That would just be too smart. I mean, that's just my personal opinion. So as promised, I'm gonna wrap up right about here, but I wanted to give you guys a sneak peek just to show you that Jimbo was not lying about all this. Well, interestingly enough, that was like the last friggin' slide of it. It's a great landing spot. So, summary: does not work to save the world. Alternative fuels, aviation technology does not work. To some extent, contrail management now. So, check that out. Show your friends. Pretty interesting stuff. But here, let's go over to here and let's take a sneak peek at what Jimbo's been working on. So I'm going to go to my developer tools and localhost port 1313, and she's back. She's back. Weathermodificationhistory.com. She's finally coming back. And I got all them fun things. The fun things. I've been working on this for the last 2-3 weeks now. I'm very much looking forward to, bringing this up. How Lyndon Johnson approves weather warfare. Yeah, I didn't put the thing back in there, did I?
A weather satellite that will permit man to determine the world's cloud layer and ultimately to control the weather, and he who controls the weather will control the world.
Ain't that the truth? But that's not all he said. He also said that control of, that's the quote you just heard. But he also said that, control of space means control of the world. From space, the masters of infinity would have the power to control the earth's weather, to cause drought and flood, to change the tides and raise the levels of the sea. That sounds like climate change and global warming, right? To divert the Gulf Stream and change temperate climates to frigid. Each and every single one of these timeline entries comes with all of the references provided at the bottom. If you click on the reference, it'll fly you up to the top and say, he said this. Where did he say this? You click on that, it'll scroll you down here, and it'll actually show you where this video originally came from at the Texas Archive of Vice President Lyndon Johnson at Southwest Texas State University. So I have taken more than my time going through and literally MLA referencing everything on here with the Pentagon papers and all that stuff. So every single timeline entry, whether it's the Test Technology Symposium or owning the weather in 2025, you'll be able to come in here and actually read all the stuff about it, and then come down here to the bottom, see related timeline entries, actually download all the files which are locally stored, not going to like archive.org or any of that kind of stuff. You should be able to just pop it up in a new tab and get right back to where you were, because I've downloaded them all with references to the originals, along with, you know, them photos that show things like carbon black dust right there, CBD, all the things, and flip through all the different things that they don't tell you, because I've read the entire thing, like UAV constellations. This isn't from Air Force owning the weather in 2025. This is from Space Operations Through the Looking Glass Global Area Strike System. This is from Aerospace Sanctuary in 2025, Shrinking the Bullseye. When I've read all of the papers, most people do not. So if you want to know about all of the stuff, it's all here. And that's what the point of it is. I've cleaned up the top. So now, you know, you got the timeline, you got the newspapers, but now the frequently asked questions pages have now been moved to weathermodificationhistory.com, as you can see here. Let me reset the zoom on this. So my papers, I'm moving them over to here. They're not going to be on climateviewer.com anymore, because this was missing from the original weathermodificationhistory.com. And it's kind of important, you know, where people can see who's paying for all this stuff. They want to be able to go to the timeline and see, you know, the entire history of weather modification. And what's neat about this timeline is that you can sort it by category, whether it's geoengineering only, from where they planned on melting the poles for 50 years, only to turn around and say, oh, but wait, we don't want to melt the Arctic, we want to save the Arctic. Isn't that ironic? To weather modification from its inception, the early days of pluviculture, from the Storm King to Hatfield, to, you know, inventing cloud seeding, to inventing the ground-based cloud seeding generator, to using it as a weapon of war and steering hurricanes. It's all in there. Space weather modification on the original Project HARP from 1965, to solar-powered satellites for weather control and a death ray, to dumping barium clouds in space. NASA creates clouds over Alaska. You know, all of that stuff, which I've now included in, and I'm working on this page right now for space weather modification, because when I originally created this page, and it's currently up on ClimateViewer, it was just about HARP. But what it did not have was this, the stuff on sounding rockets. So I wanted to really bring this one home. So now there's going to be an entire section on sounding rockets and chemical releases, like trimethyl aluminum sounding rockets, barium sounding rockets, lithium sounding rockets. There's a whole bunch that's going to be added to this section. This is the last page that I'm working on before I release the website. So this page is a work in progress. The weather modification page is done. You know, it's ready to go. All this stuff is ready to go. The newspaper vault is rocking like, you know, like it did before. You know, all the newspapers, just click on the newspaper, scroll to the next one. And another really, really impressive thing that I pulled off is that all of these pictures, which used to be literally, I shrunk the freaking website, weathermodificationhistory.com, and all of the 849 newspapers, plus all of the articles that are in, you know, the pictures and videos that are in the timeline. It was 12 gigabyte worth of images. I changed them from JPEG files to WebP format. and they look exactly the same. And I compressed those images. Now the website is 2 gigabyte. Simply by compressing all, it was in total 9,486 files. I converted them from JPEG to WebP format, and I saved 10 gigabyte of space. Means all of these images will load much faster, and the whole thing just runs better and looks exactly the same. You cannot tell any difference between before and after. It just runs faster, like way faster. So that's a good thing, right? And you'll be able to dig into these, and it won't take an hour to load as you're flipping through all of the different articles. That's freaking epic. So this is the new version. I'm bringing it back. Timeline here, newspapers here, the frequently asked question pages here. You'll be able to go to those. And then the subscribe section, which has the Substack. It here has the Substack, the Telegram chat, all my video platforms, social media platforms, ways to donate to the channel, and the merch shop. Gonna work on some new merch in the new future. That's last on my list to do, but I hope to have this website out very soon. And oh yeah, the sexy dark mode is back. Click the button once, it remembers what you like. Go to another page, it remembers that you like the dark mode, because everything is sexier in dark mode. If it doesn't have a dark mode, it wasn't done right. So yeah, I've included all that in here. I hope that you guys will definitely be sharing it, and it brings me a lot of excitement to bring back the OG weathermodificationhistory.com with the original logo, weathermodificationhistory.com, the same one that's in the bottom corner right here. So yeah, this is going to be back soon. Do you have a link to your YouTube channel? Of course I have a link to my YouTube channel. What are you talking about, Stella? It was right there in that subscribe section. This is very similar to what's already on ClimateViewer.com, if you guys haven't seen it already. But if you go to ClimateViewer.com, I have the same thing up there. So I'll show you that real quick. So like it's up there now. So if you go to ClimateViewer.com, it just says subscribe. Substack, Telegram, video platforms. There's my YouTube, my Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute. Social media, donate, merch shop. So I'm going to have this on all three. When I get done with weathermodificationhistory.com, clearly I'm going to have to go back and make some revisions to this, because this page, and this page, all 5 of these pages are moving back to weathermodificationhistory.com. The chemtrail page, Cirrus Clouds Matter, I'm saving that to make something special. I intend on creating an entire website that's a single page website just about chemtrails, because in looking at what I have now, this page has come a long way, but I've learned a lot since I last wrote it. And yeah, this whole thing needs a makeover, because while these are great questions and there are a lot of good answers in there, I really want to give this the whole thing a makeover, because it's just, it's just too much. You know what I mean? Like there's just too much here. It totally needs a rework. Like nobody's going to go through and read all of this stuff. And I mean, hell, that says resonated.com on it. So these are very old, these are from my old website back, before climateviewer.com was even a thing. So I'm going to redo this entire page as a website all by itself. And the reason I'm telling you all this is that basically what climateviewer.com is going to be at the end of the day is, I've got articles on there. If you go and you look right now, you can go to the bottom here and you can see, what the most popular articles are. These are the things, like Directed Energy Weapons 101. If you go up here, you can actually see all news posts. And this is just all the news. The last news I wrote was in 2019. So I haven't been writing since then, okay? Let's just be real. On ClimateViewer.com. And it became very stale, and people are like, you haven't updated your website since 2018. What are you going to do about that? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to have weathermodificationhistory.com. It's going to be back, and its purpose was, it's weather modification history. This guy right here is facts minus my opinion. ClimateViewer.com is my blog. It is very similar to what I'm doing on Substack. And because I've been burned in the past, I'm going to take all of my archived articles from Substack, and they will appear on ClimateViewer.com. That way, you can still get my latest articles on Substack for a month, and then at the end of that month, in your inbox with no censorship. And then at the end of that month, I'm going to take that article and then I'm going to move them over to ClimateViewer one by one. That way they're bookmarked for history. And if somehow, some way, the censorship lords come for me at Substack, they can't take it all away. I've learned from the past. I'm not repeating the past. So ClimateViewer.com is going back to what it was originally. It is my blog. It is where my long form articles are. And by long, I mean like this is a typical Climate Viewer post. If you've never read anything I do, I go really, really long on a lot of things. These are all the electric weather modification companies around the world. And this is the latest version. The original version was from 2014. I updated it from 2019. But Weather Generator is the cloud ionizer system that I mentioned in the United Arab Emirates. Weather Generator cloud ionization turning deserts green in the United Arab Emirates. You can't make this stuff up. Let's see if that video link is still there. Oh, that's my own video. I don't want to see that. They're at Magnetic Technology LLC. Magnetic Technologies LLC. And they've got a video, and it's called, let's see right here. Damn it, I clicked one of them. Videos. Just go to all of them. All right, I'm just going to scroll through, and then I'm going to cheat. Green. Deserts have turned green. And this is them. Look at that. This is them claiming that they turned the deserts green. Deserts have turned green. Weather Generator, rain enhancement. How's that for climate change? They turned a desert into a semi-arid green desert. That's pretty impressive. But anyway, that's something I covered back in 2019. That's the last article I wrote, and I'm not even done there. China's Sky River project about steering atmospheric rivers. Cloud ionization lightning protections like at the waste isolation pilot program. These ionizing antenna towers, the weather tech system, playing God using ions. This is how it works. Old method used chemicals, new method used negatively charged ions. So I'm still not through this article. That's the end of the article there. So that's the old format, and it's very similar to what I'm doing on Substack. The articles are going to go from Substack over to here. And like I said, you can find all of my stuff on connect.climateviewer.com. When you come over here, currently this weather modification history, if you click it, it's just going to take you to climateviewer.com slash interactive timeline. So it just takes you straight to the timeline on here. But as soon as this, thing is ready, this will be linked back to the OG weathermodificationhistory.com, and I can barely wait. So I'll be working on that. Ways to donate, support the channel. Sign up for the Substack newsletter right here. Just type your email in. It's really that simple. Join our Telegram chat. The link's right there. YouTube, all the videos, the social media, the merch shop. Buy yourself a VPN. My email, my phone number, all in one link. That is available at connect.climateviewer.com. And there's so much more that I want to do. There's only so little time that I can do it. And everybody, I want to say thank you to everybody who's a Patreon member or is signed up to give a monthly donation on Substack. You guys are really helping, my family. And very soon, hopefully, I'll be able to quit my 40-hour-a-week job. And this would have been done this week, but I'm working on weathermodificationhistory.com at work on a laptop. Shh, don't tell anybody. Primal concrete flesh. I love it. Perry Dags Blade. Got to bring up the Pantera, man. Bring up the Pantera. Today I'm repping Tool though, because Tool is special. It's just special music. Progressive rock, they call it, but it's still the metals. It's just a different kind. It's just built different. It's so complicated. It's the heady metal. It's not heavy metal. It's heady metal. Anyway, guys, I appreciate everybody who stuck through this, because I'm telling you, this was seriously a very nerdy, very, very nerdy conversation today. Also join Smog Refugees chat. That's Dirk in chat. Go to t.me/smog refugees chat. It's smog_refugees_chat. Dirk is an amazing researcher, and he just dropped a link to PFAS in chaff. And it turns out that the United States military is very much against stop with, don't talk about Maynard around me right now. I have a bromance with Maynard. Maynard is amazing. Oh my God, this dude can sing unbelievably well. I won't even attempt it. I could do all the growl parts and the loud parts, but bro, he sings like an angel. He's in 3 bands. It's Tool, and you got me totally sidetracked, dude. Yeah, I love music way too much, man. Why are you doing this to me? Stop it, Buried Axe Blade. Anyway, I'm thinking of talk, walk your talk. Anyway, so say you talk like Jesus, try walking like Jesus. It's a beautiful freaking song, man. Maynard, just priceless. But yeah, he was mentioning that the United States military is against banning PFAS, or the forever chemicals, because they're necessary for creating chaff. So is it any wonder why there's PFAS everywhere? You tell me. I don't know. But that is a very interesting link. So if you're in there, stop. I love Primus, man. Les Claypool played with Trey Anastasio. I'm Big Fish Head over here, and they had a band called Oysterhead, and the drummer was the drummer from The Police. So it's just, okay, one of the greatest guitarists alive, Trey Anastasio, with one of the greatest bassists alive. What could go wrong? Anyway, there's just music for me is my, you know, my solution for dealing with my stresses, with, you know, being overwhelmed by information. Muse, oh my God, Muse is so good. Their Harp album, like when I originally heard Harp at Wembley Stadium, like I had that junk on repeat while I was mapping out the entire, you know, all of the different Harp facilities and stuff like that. If you guys have never heard Muse, go listen to their Harp album. It is phenomenal. You talk about a 3-man band doing a 4 and 5-man band job. Absolutely phenomenal. Yeah, but Les Claypool, you know, why not? Why Nona had herself a big brown beaver and she showed it off all her friends. And then one day that beaver tried to leave her. So, God dang, man. I swear, my daughter, when I showed her the Les Claypool videos from back in the day, My Name is Mud. For those who aren't old enough to remember this, there used to be this thing called Headbangers Ball on MTV. And Les Claypool, this is like on Halloween night, comes on and Primus is playing My Name is Mud. And the people start moshing. This is live on MTV. And blood literally hits the camera. One of the most epic moments in TV history. It's like, that is so metal. Like, oh my God. I showed it to my daughter and she's just like, whoa, that's hard. And, you know, my daughter, she's 14 years old and she's like showing me stuff from the 1950s, you know, and just so into music. My whole family's into music because we all love music, you know. There's always music playing around here. I suggest you guys have more music in your life. If you don't, why, you should. Pussifer is Maynard's other band. So not just Tool. There's Pussifer and why am I drawing a freaking blank right now? My God, why am I drawing a blank? No, don't tell me. Don't tell me. It's Perfect Circle. My God. Perfect Circle. And the song that I was talking about earlier is called Talk Talk. Like you guys could you can go watch it for yourself. I've learned to just mute all my desktop audio so I don't get like, you know, ratioed by the YouTube gods. But A Perfect Circle, Talk Talk. And I mean, just what a great song. Like, dude, Maynard, he's in 3 different bands. He also did a song with this is like my I call it the metal, my playlist of just things that I like. He did a song with Deftones, Passenger, and it's absolutely phenomenal also. I thought I got rid of all those dinglings. Every time I go to a new one, I find a new one where I've got the alert box on. It'll literally go off for the next half hour if I leave it on, so I have to like delete it. But yeah, just these are some of my things. They're yeah, Walk. And seeing Kid Rock sing American Badass at the RNC the other night was just like an epic freaking moment. But yeah, all the things, if you know, I have a playlist for every type of music at this point, you know, of different things that I just love. And you know, Maynard and Philip Anselmo Pantera, 2 of my favorites ever. But you know, hey, I love every kind of music, and I love you guys for hanging out with me tonight. Thank you so much. You know, I know that this is a fringe topic for a lot of people, and a lot of people just aren't really into the science, and they're not into the details. They want some glorified short version. They want some, 2-minute short that explains all the things. The thing is, Creedence Clearwater Revival will always be good. I'm just gonna put the chat back up because now the whole thing is talked about. Yeah, all you do to me is talk. The lyrics to the song are just phenomenal. Sit and talk like Jesus. Try walking like Jesus. Sit and talk like Jesus. Try sit and talk like Jesus. Talk like Jesus. Talk, or get the fuck out of my way. I mean, it is absolutely just epic. Faith without works is talk without works is faith without works is dead. And I mean, this just is the best. Sit and talk like Jesus. Try walking like Jesus. And most people associate metal with Satanism. And I mean, this is Maynard literally just laying it on the line. Sit and talk like Jesus. Try walking like Jesus. Try braving the rain. Try lifting a stone. Try extending a hand. Try walking your talk, or get the fuck out of my way. And it's just epic. It's just epic. So if you want to hear great music, that's one of my favorite ones. The other one was a real big one for me was passive, because when I was going through my thyroid problems, just how, you could be my perfect enemy. It's just perfect. Talking about how the doctors could be your perfect enemy. I'm pretty sure that's the one. Yeah. Dead as dead and can be, my doctor tells me, but I just can't believe him. Never the optimistic one. I'm sure of your ability to become my perfect enemy. Wake up and face me. Don't play dead, because maybe someday I'll walk away and say, you disappoint me. Maybe we're better off this way. And I don't know how many people feel that way after the, 2 years of everybody talking about the what. But I'm pretty sure of your ability, doctors, to become my perfect enemy. And this song really resonated with me. Passive by Perfect Circle. Maynard, Tool, love you. Absolutely love me some Tool. Guys, I could literally spend the next hour just shooting the crap with you guys talking about music. But anyway, know that I'm, working behind the scenes to try to get weather modification history done. I am going to be thorough with the space weather modification page, because it does not have the amount of information that is necessary. So I'm going to work on that till it's perfect, and then I'm going to release it. And then I'm going to have to go back through ClimateViewer.com and sanitize it, because currently everything's locally linked to where it was on the ClimateViewer page. And then finally, we're going to move over to ClimateViewer.org, and the entire map is getting a makeover. Meanwhile, trying to redefine this, show that we're going to be doing. It has a very formatted segments in it. Looking forward to doing that. The guy I was talking to about doing video editing really doesn't seem to be very interested anymore, because he works 40 hours a week too. And I need a video editor, somebody with video editing skills someone who can create content, like I have some very specific things I want done. They will require Adobe After Effects or to be some animation skills. Anybody, if you know somebody like that, that is either willing to help out or do it cheaply, please let me know. Jim@climateviewer.com. Get in touch with me. I need a video editor who can do animation, and be able to. I'll be able to bring that into Open Broadcaster Studio. We'll talk again, Stella. But I'm very, that I'm an art snob, and that what I really want is going to be very hard to do. A couple of them, most of them should be pretty easy. But I need a good video editor. So let me know. Please help me out. Answer the call. Anyway, thank you guys for hanging out with me on a late Friday night. Clearly, you all have no lives, and that's probably a good thing, because my grandma always said there's nothing good going on past midnight. But anyway, please share this video, share the Substack post, read the Substack post, read about all the details that I didn't go over here. They're already in there. Why would I read them all to you? I just wanted to really just dig into that PowerPoint, because there's a lot there if you really want to dig into the science and everything, and just how screwed up all of this is, and how this all is clearly ESG, and tried to force the airlines into dealing with their plane farts and their cloud creation, and then make them turning it into a geoengineering solution. And by the way, Bill Gates is right at the top of the list, pushing it all along, and a whole lot more. So, dude, build good AI for your animations. There's actually some really good AI content creating tools now. You can generate AI video. But well, maybe we'll give that a shot. So far, unless you pay a lot of money, you can't get the render time to do the kind of things I want to do. That being said, I appreciate you guys hanging out. Take this information, share it widely. Sharing is caring. And remember, attack ideas, not people. And what I mean is, don't physically attack people. You can call them whatever you want to, because words, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Attack ideas, not people, means no violence. We've had enough violence. We saw what happened over the weekend. People are lit right now. And what we need is to be like water. So, attack ideas, not people. That's what I mean. Love you, mean it. If this video resonates with you, leave me a comment, because I love hearing from y'all. First time here, be sure to subscribe and click the bell. Yeah! Remember, it would be impossible for me to do this without your support, so please join my Patreon or buy me a coffee on PayPal. And always, attack ideas, not people.
Kids are impressionable. That's why here at this station, we watch the programs and commercials your child watches carefully. He may see bad guys, but not in the role of heroes. And he'll learn that crime doesn't pay. Because your child's welfare is our concern, too. That's part of our code.
Better than anything you can get without a prescription. Anything. It's the best.